What's up, YouTube? It's me, Arthur, aka the Indie Comics Guy. If you're new to the channel, like, subscribe, all of that usual YouTube stuff. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. I'm starting a new segment. I like to call it Pet Peeves of the Industry. To start it off with, pet peeve of mine. And I've worked with a number of talented artists, writers, inkers, colors, all of that. One thing that comes across my desk a lot is the artist not following the script. So pet peeve number one, the artist not following the script. That's a huge pet peeve of mine. I've worked with a lot of talented artists over the years. Brian Brindley, JC Grande, they are masters at their craft. There are a couple artists that I've worked with and will work with again that if I write a script, and I write full scripts, I don't do the quote unquote Marvel method where you just write and apply out, hand it to the artist and say, here. No, I write full scripts, page, panel breakdowns, all of that dialogue is all right there for the artist. You can only trust certain artists to go beyond that and kind of do their own thing because they're respecting the art of your pen, your storytelling ability. Some artists, I realized that they will look at your script and just draw their own thing, totally ignoring what you wrote. That's a huge pet peeve of mine. If I wrote it in the script, there's a reason I wrote it in the script. Now, I mentioned Brian Brindley and JC Grande earlier. I mentioned them and I said, I don't mind if they take liberties because they are truly great storytellers in their own right. It's not enough to just break down a script. You have to be a director when you're an artist and you're drawing this. You have to look at, hey, maybe I should do an aerial view on this panel. Maybe I should do a close-up on this panel. You have to be able to direct that page and see the visuals of it. Now, I do a lot of layouts for artists at times, and they can, it's just kind of extra reference material. But when you have an artist that completely ignores your script because they do not know how to draw what you put on paper, that's a huge pet peeve of mine. One is unprofessional. Two, if you do want to make changes to the script, to the page, contact me. Let me know. Hey, on page 7, panel 3, and panel 4, you have Batman crouching down, looking over the city, and it just not flowing right on the page. Do you mind if I do this, this, and this? That's communication, friends. That's communication. I might say, yeah, go for it. Whatever you feel best to get the best impact for that page. Comic books are a visual medium. They always have been. You see the art before story. And that's a whole different discussion there. Which matters more, the art or the story? The king of the D-list artists, Mr. Joe McPhee himself, he always says story, I say art. Maybe we'll have a debate about that one day. By the way, he has a Kickstarter going for his Amazonia issue 7, starting May 21st. If you want that king of the D-list artist greatness, check out Amazonia issue 7 on Kickstarter, May 21st, by the king of the D-list artist, Joe McPhee. Anyway, this is a huge gripe from a lot of writers when they get the pages back from the artists. And sometimes the artists, the turnaround time is quickly within that week. Sometimes you're waiting months for pages. That's another gripe. Gripe number 2, pet peeve number 2. Artist turnaround times. Now, initially when a writer hires an artist, they ask them, hey, what's your turnaround time on How many pages can you produce a week, a month, and so forth. This is when the lies come in from a lot of artists. They're like, oh, I can do 1 to 2 pages a week. That's fair. That's a standard turnaround time. Cool. But when you're waiting a month and you've only received 2 pages in a month, and you're trying to put this book on a production schedule, that's when things get ugly. They get ugly. Because then the writer or even the publisher, sometimes they're forced to rethink this artist. Is he or she the right person for this project? I have a deadline I'm trying to meet, and they're slowing down the production because if the artist hasn't done the pencils and inks, you can't turn the book over to a colorist, a letter, and so forth. So yeah, pet peeve number 2, artist turnaround times. And some artists are very quick. Some are a little slower. But what I found in a lot of cases is some artists take on more projects than they can physically accommodate. They're taking on too many projects, so the production gets slow, super duper slow, because they're working on 5, 6 books. And to speed up production, they start taking artistic shortcuts. That's when a lot of things get shadowed and so forth. Marcelo Salazar was famous for that. I worked with him on my very first comic book, Battle Eulogy, years ago. And he's gotten a lot better. But from talking to people who have worked with him, from time to time he is taking those shortcuts because he's taking on way too much work. And he's a fantastic artist. That's the sad part. Fantastic artist. I don't want to see a bunch of shadows. The book warrants, unless the book calls for those type of deep shadows and silhouettes and all that on every other panel, every other page, I don't want to see it. If I'm paying you top dollar, what I feel is top dollar, you accepted the page rate, give me the art. Give me the art. So turnaround times, pet peeve number 2. I guess we'll do pet peeve number 3. Pet peeve number 3. The artists are like, yo, you keep picking on us. What about everybody else? Okay, colors. When you're coloring a comic book, you really have to think about how it's going to look once it's printed. A lot of people do not take that into account. That's when you get the books printed, you're looking at it, you're like, wow, this book is super duper dark. Or it looks muddy. Yeah, you can blame some of that on the printing process, but the colorists have to take accountability. And they have to think, how will this book look? How will this page look once it's printed? That's something that a lot of people aren't thinking about, they're not discussing, but it's a very real thing, and it can make or break a book. It really can. Do I have another pet peeve? I have more pet peeves, but I wanted to make this a short video. I didn't want to just go on and just make it a gripe session. But I want to know from you, my chat nerds, what are some of your pet peeves when it comes to creating comic books? Let me know in the comment section below. If you're new to the channel, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We want to hear from you. I'm the indie comic book guy. Peace twice.